Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something we've all seen happen, the high-stakes product launch. We're going to dive right into why banking on corporate assumptions instead of actual hard consumer data is pretty much the fastest way to derail a new product right out of the gate. Whether you're dropping a new digital app or launching a gourmet burger, its survival really comes down to one thing. Does it actually meet a customer's need?
Which brings us to the million-dollar question, sometimes literally. Why do massively well-funded products just fail? We've all seen it. Giant companies pour absolute fortunes into R&D, they hire top-tier agencies for the slickest packaging, and burn through colossal marketing budgets. And then, the product completely flops on day one. It's brutal. Today we're going to figure out exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how to make sure it doesn't happen to you.
Well, the root of the problem usually starts behind closed doors. Too many organizations are building in secret. They're leaning on fragile internal guessing, those corporate assumptions, instead of making concrete, data-driven decisions. Direct user feedback is, without a doubt, your most valuable asset. Yet it's astonishingly ignored just because someone had a gut feeling in the boardroom.
When you ignore the data, you step right into a massive dilemma. Let's face it, out in the real world, consumers are brutal critics, right? They're constantly comparing products, testing them out, and judging their practical usefulness every single day. Launching without understanding that environment, it's literally like navigating a highly competitive space without a compass. You're just flying blind.
And here is exactly what gets lost in the dark. Without direct feedback, companies are completely blind to what features users actually value. They miss the mark on what needs improving, or the specific real-world problems people hit when using the item. Plus, they stay entirely unaware of what's missing from their offer and what actually motivates a purchase. You simply cannot design a solution if you don't fundamentally understand the problem from the user's exact perspective.
But, okay, here's the good news. There is a highly strategic safety net here. Consumer feedback isn't just about making a product nice to have. It acts as a massive risk reducer right from the initial design stage. Look, every single launch has risk, but tapping into consumer opinions early on creates this crucial foundation of trust, and it significantly minimizes the chances of a catastrophic, costly failure. So, what can you actually do with this feedback before launch day? Well, you can validate literally everything. You can fine-tune your marketing communication, you can test how your packaging is perceived, and you can figure out price acceptance before you spend a single dime of your main marketing budget. Catching these things early, it exponentially increases your odds of actually succeeding.
Because modern consumers, they are incredibly savvy. They almost never make decisions based solely on flashy ads anymore. Instead, authentic customer reviews become your ultimate trust-building tool. As they say, positive reviews act as social proof. When a buyer sees that someone else has already taken the leap and loves it, that social proof is the ultimate closer. It seals the deal.
And this social proof generates highly tangible business outcomes. It directly drives up conversion rates and seriously slashes purchase hesitation. It builds a fortified brand image and fosters long-term customer loyalty, which, let's be honest, is absolutely vital for brand new products that don't have an established market position yet. Without all these pieces working together, your product is really just an unknown commodity sitting on a very crowded shelf.
Now, it's a huge mistake to think the work is done the second the product hits that shelf. Launching is really just the starting line. Markets evolve, customer needs change, purchasing trends shift. It's inevitable. Consumer feedback is the vital fuel that keeps your product evolving alongside those changes. It directly impacts your ongoing sales and ensures your product doesn't just become obsolete a year later.
In practice, what we're looking at is a continuous development loop. You launch, you collect real-world feedback, you identify the flaws, and then you improve the product. Getting real users hands-on helps you catch those weird usability bugs or unclear instructions that just weren't visible in the testing lab. The earlier you catch them, the less they cost to fix, and the safer your customer base is.
Okay, now here is a fascinating and often totally overlooked business impact of consumer reviews that might actually surprise you. We usually think of reviews just in terms of brand reputation or direct sales, but they actually play a massive, highly technical role in your product's digital visibility. User-generated reviews are an incredibly powerful SEO tool. Think about it. They continuously pump fresh, unique content onto your product pages. This naturally improves user engagement, it extends the time people spend on your site, and it drastically boosts your organic Google visibility. More reviews mean higher credibility for search algorithms, which drives up brand-related searches. It basically turns into this awesome, self-sustaining marketing engine.
So, we've established the immense value of this feedback. But that brings us to the operational challenge, right?
Collecting the feedback alone simply isn't enough. The real burning question here is, how do we actually gather and, more importantly, utilize this goldmine of market data to make smart business decisions?
To get a full, actionable picture, you really need an ecosystem of data. You've got to mix qualitative methods, like deep dive focus groups and interviews, with broader quantitative data, like widespread satisfaction surveys and online reviews. It's this specific combination that reveals not just what is happening with your product, but exactly why it's happening.
But hey, just collecting all these opinions and dumping them into a giant spreadsheet? That is definitely not the finish line. The real magic happens when you expertly interpret that raw data and translate it into concrete, actionable business decisions. Without interpretation, you basically just have a pile of conflicting opinions. But with it, you've got a roadmap for product supremacy.
And this exact challenge of interpretation is why organizations are increasingly relying on specialized advisory partners. Firms like Consumer Insight Consulting, for example, step in to bridge that critical gap between raw consumer data and actual executable business strategy. They help organizations actually understand consumer behavior so they can nail their competitive positioning.
Just looking at the scope of support a partner like that provides, they don't just hand you a PDF report and wish you luck. They expertly design the research, they conduct thorough product testing, and they analyze the entire customer experience. From there, they provide the strategic recommendations you need to pivot effectively, turning those raw insights into actual bottom-line sales growth.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a critical question to challenge your own product pipeline. In a world where the customer is undeniably at the center of every successful strategy, consumer opinions just aren't an optional add-on anymore. They are the very foundation of a successful new product. So look at your next launch and ask yourself honestly, are you guessing or do you know? Thanks for tuning in, and I highly encourage you to leverage the power of real consumer data in your next venture.